Alright, hello everyone. It's Chris. I am just coming at you guys today with a recording on a book series that I have read listened to a couple of times, and I figured that now, since the fifth book is on Audible and I am going back through it, now would be a good time to also do kind of a story recap for it. I've mentioned it a couple of times already, and it is the Path of Ascension by Mantis. Path of Ascension is a progression or cultivation series. It is an awesome series, in my opinion, one of the better ones. Absolutely something that, if you're even remotely interested in this kind of thing, you should probably look into. Path of Ascension follows our main character for it is one Matt. He is an orphan. So before I get to that, in this world there are, instead of being focused on just Earth or a singular planet, Path of Ascension the Path of Ascension's universe is set in just that, a universe where many planets are kind of scattered throughout, and they are connected by what is called chaotic space. And the stronger people can just travel straight through chaotic space, while everyone else has to take teleports between the planets. On these planets, there are rifts, which are just portals that lead to some place where monsters are that you can fight and then gain what they call essence, so that you can progress, you can ascend, as they call it. We follow Matt, who is on a low tier world. Now, tiers are just their levels. People have tiers, monsters have tiers, the worlds have tiers, rifts have tiers. But his world is a low tier world, and the nobles in charge of the world have grown lazy or being unconcerned with the general with the general people underneath them, and so the rifts that are on the planet have broken, which just means they have gained enough essence to either tier up or to spill their monsters out into the world, which is what happened. Matt's parents die, and he ends up in an orphanage, where, once he hits 16, he then gets his talents unlocked. And I won't go into what his talents are, but suffice it to say, his initial talent is deemed as unfit. The exact rating is detrimental. So he is unable to join the guild he wants to join, and so he ends up working just a 9-to-5 job for a couple of years to try to save up enough money to buy a spot in a public rift. And there he meets two people, Deanna and Eric, who get to know him, and after a series of events, I want to try to keep this somewhat vague in case people are interested. They choose to sponsor him on the Path of Ascension, which is just a fast track, brutal series of requirements to ascend to tier 25 by 200, which is a mind-blowing speed. Once you hit tier 15, you are immortal, and after after that, most people don't really feel any rush to ascend if they had any rush to begin with. So, usually it takes 400, 500 years for someone to reach tier 25. So, to have to do it in at least half that time is a big ask. So, he goes to what they call a playpen, where he learns more about delving and what will be required of him as an ascender and the rules for being an ascender. And he meets a few friends, and then after that he gets his first companion, who is a beast. Her name is Aster. She is a white fox. She is an Arctic fox. And they, he gets her as a rift ward. So he gets her egg hatches, and they form a bond together. But most of Matt's time on the playpen is just kind of him getting his feet wet with the delving and what he is going to be expected to do. Once he hits tier 3, he has to leave, and from there, he gets pointed toward what they call a training world, which is just a world that they found but wasn't deemed as fit for human inhabitants. So they basically seal the world off. People can't go to it, and they give it to a guild, and it basically sits there until all of the rifts are bursting with essence, and then people go in, they delve all the rifts for 6 months to get, really powerful rewards out of it. And then once that 6 months is done, the world gets sealed again to wait until the next time it gets opened. So he goes there, and he meets another ascender, another pather by the name of Liz, who he parties up with, and they get to know each other a bit better, and the two of them end up making a great team, to the point where they form a more permanent party instead of the temporary one they had been doing. But with the so on the training world, he's met Liz, and sorry, I'm not spectacular at these. I've mentioned it before, so I am hopefully going to get better at these as we go. I don't have a script or anything that I'm following. I'm just using my own train of thoughts. Oh, yes. On the training world, Matt finds out that he has been touching briefly on what they call a concept, which is something you need to break into tier. Well, you need it to break into tier 5, but most people will take a bottled concept so that they can get through that, and then you have to have a personal concept to break into tier 15. And all a concept is a crystallization of your personality, and what drives you, or either what drives you, or a or a concept, an idea that resonates with you. And, Liz tells him that she has hers, so she can tell that he's been touching on his, and so they spend some time while on the training world, helping Matt get to his concept. A concept is split into two parts, usually, which is a phrase and an image, and while on the training world, Matt finds out what his phrase is in a brutal fight between them and a boss of a rift, of a wave-based rift that gets stronger the more waves you do, and then if you do all 10 waves you fight the boss, but the boss was only supposed to be peak tier 4, but because Liz uses blood magic, then she was able to push it into a tier 5 fight accidentally, and it was a brutal fight for them. But in that fight, Matt finds out what his phrase is. And so he spends the rest of the time there on the training world, trying to figure out what his image is, and then getting to the peak of tier 4, so that when Matt gets his image, they're ready to just advance straight into tier 5. But when they leave the training world, before that, because I am all out of order on everything, while Matt was on the training world, he found a unique rift that instead of putting him, on a random world somewhere, or he mentions they can open onto asteroids or something. This rift puts him on the back of a massive dragon, incomprehensibly big. The general description we get is that it can eat entire solar systems as a snack. Just mind-boggling big. And Liz has him send the footage he took of that rift to her parents so that they can pass it off the chain of command, because Liz is the daughter of a pair of very powerful people who have connections with the nobility and the higher-ups in the empire they're in. And so, he does that when they leave the training world, and as a result, he gets a reward from them. And the reward he can get is limited because the path limits what the pathers can get, so that they're not just power leveled through what is supposed to be a challenge. And so he gets two things of note. He gets a series of potions that will help his mana concentration. It will help concentrate his mana down. And the other thing he gets is a piece of advice, more directed at Liz, that they should go see her brother, and they need to head straight there. Well, they do, and when they get there, come to find out that there is an ascension taking place. Someone is ascending to the higher realms, and these ascensions help by allowing people to form concepts easier. It helps their brain work through, the, thought processes and whatnot that is needed to help form the phrase and image better. And that is where the book effectively ends, is we see Matt, Liz, and Aster lock in their concepts and advance to tier 5. And that is what we leave them then deciding to go to a vassal kingdom to help with subjugating a new planet that was just found. And that's where they're going to go to head off after that. There's a little bit at the end of the book that's really not all that important. We just see the Emperor speaking to Liz's parents and a couple of the other nobles about the rift that Matt found, and that they're going to take it and put it in what they call the Beast Kingdom's capital, which is just a bunch of evolved beasts, so that it can be nurtured, so that the dragon's blood essence, which beasts and those with bloodlines can use to grow stronger, then they have a solid source of it. But most of this are just character introductions between them. So we meet the Emperor, who we've seen a couple of times before now, but nothing too personality-wise. We get a much cleaner view of his personality. We get a good idea of Liz's parents' personality, and then we meet one other character who is the leader of another faction in the world, which is called the Republic. And the reason why he's interested is because the training world that this rift was found on was a neutral planet. It had connections between to both the Empire lands and the Republic lands, so it was kind of a neutral meeting ground where they both could use it. And the fact that there were so many powerful Empire people here is what drew his attention. But nothing really important happens at this point. They take the rift, and the Emperor destroys the planet so that another copy of the rift can't be taken. But that is the end of the first book. I didn't do it justice. If any of this sounds even remotely interesting to you, I encourage you to go read the book or listen to the book. It is amazing. But for me, the first book in the Path of Ascension series is a 5-star book. It is, in my opinion, the standard that cultivation and progression series should be held to in character development and whatnot. There's a couple other really good cultivation series that I hope to listen to again when I get a chance, and I'll talk to you guys about those. But that is the end of this video. Again, my name is Chris. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.